Hello, everyone. Hi. Yeah, it's been a while. Many things happening here. Um, Many different projects that I couldn't stream. So, well, I'm trying to be back. We'll see. Do I remember how to stream? Nope, I don't. I almost forgot to turn on my camera. Like, I almost started streaming with the starting soon screen still showing. So, that tells you a lot. But nice to see that people are still showing up. Anyways, we have things to do. I hope you can hear me. Like, if anything, if sound is off or something, my voice is better. Yes, better than at the conference. That's true. Also, oh man, you can barely see the t-shirt. I mean, since we're totally sponsored by FilePilot, we should make sure that it's all. I have to wear them like this, I guess. Yeah, so if anything's off with audio or weird sounds or something, let me know. If something's off with font, etc., let me know as well. This is also on a new machine, so things might be weird. I don't know. We'll see. I thought we're gonna get back into fixing stuff on the compiler. Someone sent in a repro. I have to show you that one on Windows because they sent it in as a Windows repro. I took a look at it before the stream so that we don't have to start completely cold. Basically, also shout out, like we're shout out to all the cool stuff. Like shout out to FilePilot. I haven't used it yet, but I heard it's great. I'm gonna try it soon if I have to do more on Windows. Shout out to Red Debugger, obviously awesome tool. I just compiled the latest version, started it, and found the bug immediately. So we have a little program that doesn't do much. Let me just opens a window. Let me remove all the breakpoints. Opens a window, and if you click anywhere, boom, we get a sad crash. Access violation by reading from address 1. Yeah, makes sense. It does seem a bit quiet. Well, then let's turn it up a notch. Is that better? Yeah, so something weird is going on. We get a crash here. If we look at the details, we see we're in pack stack trace. So initially I thought this was an allocator issue. So basically what this repro does is they use SoCal as I think it's a cross-platform library. I don't know. I haven't used it. I've just heard the name before. But basically they start and they give it an app description where they say, here's my init callback, here's a frame callback, an input callback, etc. And so they have a context that they... So I wouldn't do it this way. That's why we haven't found that. Have we seen that? That's why we have not seen that bug yet. But they do the following: they have a context lying around globally, and then main has a context, but they basically don't use that. They immediately jump into sep run, and in the init callback from that, they initialize this global context from scratch, so no reference to the initial context, created their own temporary storage, push that, and then whenever they get any callback from SoCal, they just push that same global context. And so initially, it was reported to me as a bug in the memory debugger, and I heard something about a context corruption issue, but it looks like the root issue is something else. So if we look where it actually fails, we're trying to add a stack trace node. I first thought it was about the allocator being wrong so that we push into invalid memory, but no, the item is bullshit. So item is a pointer with the reference node here, and node is actually like has the address 01, so we see that something's fishy. So we push a node that's 01. Where does this come from? So here we have the trace, and if we look at trace, next, we can see that one of the next pointers is just garbage. So I took a look at how we're doing things and where things initialized. So I switched to the, what I did then was I looked here in the init callback, just set a breakpoint here. And so this is all this is what was the 15 minutes before I started streaming, basically, this analysis. I'm just trying to repeat it to get you guys up to speed. VR Camilo says, a similar bug in my code base where multiple threads were mutating the stack trace linked list because we're using the same context. Yeah, that's bad. The context is not supposed to be shared across threads. So nothing in the context is thread safe, etc. I mean, you can put in the thread safe allocator, but the context itself is not expecting to be used across threads. Every thread has its own context normally. So if you have multiple threads mutating the stack trace, you're gonna have fun times. Hey, Void Main. Thanks for the subscription. I guess we have to build the subscription counter again. Let's see, where is it? I assume it's at 1 after you just subscribed. No, it's at 2. Yay, I have 2 subscribers. Big money is coming in. Okay, anyways. So if we look at what's happening here, before we call the initializer, if we watch just context, where is it? Loop context, which is this global context, we see that the allocator is said, it's not said, it's not set. Stack trace, everything's null, obviously. We call the initializer, and I thought the initializer sets some stack trace node or something. Nope, stack trace is still 0. And then we create temporary storage. And as soon as we push for the first time, we see that the stack trace node changed. So we have a stack trace node here, and it has a 0 name and a 0 location. And I was like, where's this coming from? So it adds the line number, as you can see. So it has the right line number. So this basically the first stack trace node has the push as the line number, but no name, no location. We could change that actually. I think we might want to change that. But whatever. And I was, where is this coming from? So I looked at the bytecode builder, and I found this emit code to push sentinel stack trace node, which is in push context. So if we have a push context, we have this, if stack traces are enabled, we push sentinel stack trace node. And if we look at what that does, it makes a sentinel node. And then if, where's the jump? Yeah, if we have a null stack trace, so if we don't have a null stack trace, we jump over it. But so if we have a null stack trace, we push that sentinel node. And if you look here, we don't bother popping the node. This context will no longer be used anyways. And that's where the bug is. If you reuse a context that didn't have a stack trace node initially, so you had an empty context or in context with an empty stack trace node, and you push it once, we'll add that sentinel stack trace node, and then we never pop it because someone thought, I assume John thought, that you're not going to reuse that context. But if you reuse that context, you are in a bad spot, because where does this stack trace node point? It's allocated on the stack. And we can verify that. If we look at the address, it's 6123. And if we look at TS, that's also 6123. So this variable and the stack trace node both live on the stack, which means when we return from this function after the push context, this stack trace node is no longer valid. And that's where the bug comes from, because then at some point, this is one thing I don't like about, I'll mail that. Like whenever I use Rat Debugger, I send praise to Ryan and also a whole list of things I would change, because that's just how I am. I never know whether to set the breakpoint here or here. Okay, I get a different cursor here, but still I often click on the left column for some reason. Maybe if you indicate, if you see it on hover, that, you know what I mean? Maybe if you if you get an indicator that this would set a stack trace, that would help. I don't know. No stack trace. A breakpoint. Man. All right. So if we go in, this is now, I just set a breakpoint here. Did I resume? So we are here. We got some input event. I assume it's a mouse event or something. And you can see that the stack trace still has that stack trace node on the stack, and now we have some garbage on it. And that's what breaks us as soon as we try to use the stack trace nodes. So that's the bug. It was easy to find, took a couple of minutes, no big deal. We found, even though I haven't looked at any of this in ages. So the problem is that we have this sentinel stack trace node and it doesn't get popped. So I think, so I added this comment a few minutes ago. I think the solution is just to add a pop sentinel stack trace node code to the pop. The problem is, how do we know that we need to pop? How do we know that it's the sentinel node? Like, do we compare? If we check whether it's a sentinel node by looking at the content of the node, that's going to be too expensive. Do we... I'm not sure how we're gonna do that, because like the push is conditional, so we can't just unconditionally pop. If we do a heuristic, it might be wrong at some point. At some point, if we I don't want to add a member to the stack trace node or to the context or something. Like, obviously we could do, where is context defined? Is it in preload? No, I think it's runtime support. Where is base context? Is it context base? It's context base, okay. I don't want to bloat context base with some information about whether the stack trace node should be popped or not. I don't want to... Of course, we could have an extra boolean on the stack that tells us whether we should pop. Hey, Natsu. Hey, guys. Thanks for showing up again. So what would be the easiest way for us to know that we have to pop? That we have to pop the sentinel. Sorry, I have to answer a message. I'm not sure. I guess, so before we do that, I want to create a repro for this because I don't want to depend on this Windows only repro. I want to have a short little stack traces corrupted repro. So these are the tests we currently have that do something with push context. I'm thinking about modifying one of them. I like this one, which tests returns, etc. But I don't think it's necessary. I guess let's do a fresh one. Let's do push context reuse. Push reused context.jai. How about that? Okay, we have a main. We do some C function. Some C function. I haven't written much Jai recently, so we'll have to get into it again. And this is a C call, so we lose the outer context. We want to have a global context. And we can just basically copy the code from the repro, Jai memory. Oh, I deleted it. Never mind. Let's look it up here. Yeah, they say context just, and then they have this. Init context. Let's say init global context. Init global context. And I think I would say here initializer of type of global context. I prefer that, I think. You switched to NeoVim on your Mac? Yeah, a long time ago. Here I've always used NeoVim, I think. I can't remember doing anything else on Windows. But I'm not like, you won't find me to be a NeoVim advocate. Okay, so we initialize this, then we do push context. Shall we do the temporary storage thing as well? It's not necessary. Push context. Yeah, nah, doesn't matter. Global context. I prefer log actually. Okay, this adds a sentinel stack trace node. Then we pop it. And now once we return from init global context something like the sentinel node is now invalid. So we're gonna have some C function. We're gonna do something to make sure that we properly stomp over the stomp stack. So we're just gonna have large array. Let's make it whatever, 512 U8s for large array. It is FE. Okay, whatever. Just put some pattern on the stack. Then we return, then we do some C function that pushes, and then let's do this maybe a couple of times. Not sure if that helps. Oh, whatever, let's just try it once. Some C function that pushes, and we just do this. Okay, how do we prove that? Print stack trace. We'll need import basic for the log. I don't know where print stack trace is from. Runtime support. Okay. So this might crash if the Sentinel node is broken. Let's see if that crashes. Jai tests regression, push reused context. Parse declarations expect the same. Oh yeah, I programmed too much Go. I'm sorry. Let's just do this with auto run. Bam, fine. See, faulty address is fee, so it worked. So we poisoned the stack correctly, and this blows up. Nice. Hey, Codingree. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Okay. So we have a repro. We don't need Windows. So we can turn off this machine, even though we like Rat Debugger. We don't like Windows, so bye. And quiet. Awesome. I love it when the Windows machine is off. Okay. How do we fix this? So simple fix would be global context stack trace is null. And now this should no longer. Yeah, now it just works. So we put, because we push and use Sentinel. Okay. How do we fix this? We would have to, so if we look here, we add the push context instruction to the defers. So if we look at the defers, where was that? Can't remember. We'll find it. This looks sensible. Here we say, if it's a push context, we do the popping. So here, we would have to pop the Sentinel node. My problem is I don't know how we know whether we should pop it. We could, of course, allocate a separate, like the easiest fix would be to just allocate a separate value on the stack that tells us whether we should pop the Sentinel node, like whether we push the Sentinel node and therefore we can then pop the Sentinel node. I was at BSC. Yes, I was at BSC. It was awesome. It was a life-changing experience. Like, I'm not even kidding. Yeah, the talks were nice, but I would say the talks were kind of like the rib cage of the conference, and the actual meat of the conference was between the talks and before the talks and after the talks. So, like, the reason why Better Software Conference was awesome was not because of the talks, but because of the people who were there. Like, it was nuts. It was just a tiny group of people, but every single one of them was exceptional at something, or at many things quite often. Like, you talked to some random guy you've never seen or heard before, and he just blows you away with what he knows or how he thinks or the things he's done, or like, it was pretty remarkable. Yeah, it was like networking in the best sense of the word. I hate, like, you don't, like, if you go somewhere to network, it always implies some, to me, it always has the connotation of like pushing something on someone, or trying to know someone so that you can then later sell them something, or, you know what I mean? Like, networking is always like, I don't know, it has smelly salesman vibes to me. So This was not networking. This is actually like meeting awesome people and making new friends and learning a ton and being inspired. And just there were so many high energy people that you were just so enthusiastic about whatever they were doing or talking or thinking about. It was awesome. Wasn't it invite only? Yes. Why was Jonathan not invited? Because they didn't want to burn him on experimental. Like this was a very experimental conference, and no one knew whether it was gonna work out or not. So they didn't want to, like, if you like John and know John, you know that he's quite like that. He has high standards. So if you don't know if something's gonna work out, you might want to wait off a second before adding him. So I guess that's the idea. Okay, so the easiest thing I can think of to fix this is to add a separate allocation of a single byte where we just store store a 1 if it's if the sentinel, like here we could just, we have this sentinel instruction. If we have, yeah, let's not overanalyze this. Let's just create a new value where we store whether we push the sentinel or not, and then based on that value, we're gonna pop, which means we're gonna have an extra value just for that, which is kind of stupid. But again, you're probably just gonna have stack traces in debug builds anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Did someone see John's keynote? Yes, I saw the broken version, but it was still awesome to see. I think they re-uploaded the fixed version by now, but I haven't looked at that. Okay. What's new value? This is totally. I'm not familiar. Like, I haven't done much bytecode stuff, especially not in the past year. So, type def u8. So we make an instruction. How do we, what's the easiest way to do this? We have a jump if. I don't want to emit too many instructions. We could just, like, we know. Let's invert this. If we do sentinel skip, we can just cast, the sentinel to a u8. That's messy. Okay, whatever. Let's do the stupidest thing. So we have sentinel used. We need something on the sentinel. No, not on the sentinel. On the we need to store. Where is it? We don't have that here. Oh, site is the, okay, so we can just ask, do we want to poison that? Maybe just return the value. Okay, so we have Sentinel used. I'm gonna be super wasteful and then emit 2 instructions for this. I just can't remember what all of them are called. How do I assign a constant? Big constant seems like it's the wrong thing. I just want... Okay, we bytecode. Let's see. Assign as bytecode instructions. Sorry. Okay, I don't know what the best thing is. I'm gonna just experiment by doing the following. We are gonna say and we're gonna wait. What are the bytecode instructions that get emitted for that? Constant. So the thing is constant, and it gets emitted at 6979. But why does it say 79? If it's actually emitted here, it should be 81. Oh, because I added things. Yeah, it's just assigned to big constant. Okay, so we're just gonna do assign to big constant. I wasn't sure if that's okay, but it looks like it's... Oh no, it's not okay. My bad. Val u8. I want this actually. So we emit the same. We just say constant. Okay, fine, good, easy, nice. So we say assign to big constant, Sentinel used. And we're gonna do a 1. And over here, we do 0. So that means we add a 0, and here we overwrite it with a 1 if we actually... We can do this here, doesn't really matter. Okay, and we return that value from emit code to push sentinel stack. Like I'm just doing the stupidest thing to make this work. Okay. Where was the other part, which was the pop? Ast push context. Here we are. So, oh, and we have to store it, of course. So we have to put that on the push sentinel used value is blah. That doesn't exist, of course. Okay. So we have a sentinel used value, and now here we can say we emit this is now a bit tricky. Let's just copy that code. I love C++. It makes us do everything twice, which means you're twice as good once you're done. Emit code to pop sentinel stack trace node. And we're gonna say value number sentinel used value. And of course now we have to find this because C++, this is an int. This is a pop. This is sentinel used value. Isn't this great? So we have push, we have pop, and they're pretty similar. So jump if wait a second. I don't understand this code. Jump if not equal to what? Where's the second operand? Am I stupid? I mean, I'm just gonna wing it, but I don't fully understand what's going on here. So we're gonna say sentinel used value. So if this is 0, then so if it's 0, we're gonna jump over. I'm not sure why it's equal and not equal. I'm missing something. Whatever. People will tell me. Any major milestones in Jai last year? Last year is a long time. Under what circumstances is Sentinel you pushed now? It is pushed if there is no stack trace node. Sure, it wouldn't be sane to just always push one. No, like if you have stack trace nodes, you don't want to put a stack trace node in there that's basically a nothing burger. So the Sentinels basically is this is where things start, and you should always find that. And if you can't find it, there's something wrong. I guess that's the idea. I don't know. I don't know why it's pushed, honestly. I didn't look into it. So we make a jump point. We say if this is if sentinel used is 0, we do nothing, we just jump. And otherwise, we have to load the old stack trace node. For that to work, I'd have to get the next pointer. Where do we have this? Context offset is stack trace offset. Where is this actually? Ast, call, ast. What's it called? Damn it. I'm so rusty. Ast proceed. Is it not? Ast procedure call, not call procedure. Mid procedure call. So here we can look at how we push and pop a stack trace node. Stack trace. No. There's a separate init stack trace node, but that's not what I want. Oh, it's not call procedure actually that pushes the stack trace node, I guess. We have init stack trace node, but where do we? I'm struggling. What do I want to do? I want to get. Maybe I can do this. I just wanted to copy. I wanted to find the code where we emit the bytecode instructions to push the stack trace and pop the stack trace nodes, but I have a hard time finding them for some reason. So I can just try to do this from scratch, but I'd rather not, because there might be something I don't know about how this works. I've seen this code at some point. I just can't remember right now. It is weird that we don't use this stack trace offset. We only use it in the LVM converter, in that one place where we do the sentinel stack trace, and here in the bytecode runner. That's weird. How is this working compiler compared to previous experience with Angular and so on? Like, did you have times where you were lost in the code base with smoothing and stuff? It has nothing to do with Angular, any work on Angular or something, but I've done enough work before this in foreign code bases of all kinds of complexity that I'm kind of used to working in foreign code. I don't think I've ever worked on anything as complex as the compiler before I joined the compiler team, but general things still apply. Your background was green and you're using Emacs, you found the place already. I'm sure that's true. No, okay, let's I need to get back into compiler mindset. If I look at something silly, like if we say this, I must see, okay, there is a stack node. It's the first instruction. And then test, for some reason, test doesn't have that. Why not? I guess we're not printing it. It must be implicit. Why is this implicit? If it's part of call, like this, I assume stack node is, if we look at byte printer, yeah, this is init stack trace node. We found that one. But I haven't found the place where we actually do the stack trace fanciness. I guess this is implicit, like we can see it here. Okay, so we generate that code. We generate that code implicitly. So I can't find bytecode instructions for it because there are no bytecode instructions. It's part of byte, like call procedure handles it implicitly, as you can see here. So what are we doing to pop? We load the context. We get the stack trace offset. Makes sense. We load it. So this now contains the stack trace node. And then we get the hash offset. We don't need that. Where's the next chaining happening? Am I blind? Wait, how does this work? Wait a second, I'm not understanding something. I know we do something with hashes, but I thought I don't need to understand it to work on this. Is this in preload? Yes, we have a next pointer, we have a hash. And we have the procedure info. We have to modify the next pointer at some point. Am I going crazy? The only thing I can see here is we're modifying the hash. But we don't actually... How is this a pop? What do we do to push it? So we have a linear location for the stack trace node. Makes sense. We load the context. We get the new node, makes sense. We store the line number. Yeah, you say it's common. No, like it can't be commented out because stack traces work. So whatever we're doing to push and pop stack trace nodes clearly works. So whatever we're doing is sufficient to push and pop stack trace nodes. We get the pointer to the hash. We load the hash. We take the bytecode instruction. We cast it to a hash at end. What? We add that to the old hash that's in the current stack trace node. And then we remove that again. That clearly doesn't modify the next pointer. Something else adds the next pointer. This is like, this modifies the line number and modifies the hash. No, the next pointer, like, of course the next pointer is set. Like, it is a chain, but it looks like, so this is not what pushes the next pointer. Call procedure just modifies the line number and messes with the hash for some reason. I'm not sure what the hash is used for. If we look at, you know what? If we look at print stack tray, it was in run support. We don't care about hash. Like, who uses the hash? I'm not sure how or why the hash is used. Okay, but anyways, doesn't matter. I thought it's going to be easy to look at this. It's not, so we're not gonna. So this one just messes with the hash and messes with the line number. So we store the current line number, so we know where we called from, but we don't modify the stack trace pointer. The stack trace pointer must be modified in the preamble of the lambda we're calling. That's my assumption. So the lambda that we're calling is going to have a stack trace node on its stack, and it's going to just put that in and going to pop it on the return. So if we do emit code for lambda body, that doesn't do much, just adds it. Okay. It just assigns it. Where is this actual code? This is in the modules. Man, I haven't seen this code in ages. Get a LEM function, emit IR for a function. There we are. Okay, so somewhere in here we're gonna say if we do stack pointers, let's do fancy stuff. Set up for stack allocations. Nope. We do the argument stuff. Emit disassembly. ARM64 backend when? When I have time. Someone asked before whether I use an x64 or ARM64 Mac. I'm using an ARM64 Mac. This is a pretty new machine now. Yeah, it's a M4 Max. I still don't see the stuff that does the. Let's just use make section part 0. Nope. This can't be all. I'm going nuts. I'm not seeing something. Return. We push the stack trace node. Okay, we found something. Yay. And this is init stack trace node. But we only saw that. Why didn't we see this? Okay, I thought init stack trace node is the thing, but test doesn't have it. Like we only have it in main. We don't have it in test. Why? Is this okay? I have a hunch. I have a hunch. Yes, now we have. Nope. Now we have it. Okay, so we only push a stack trace node if that thing calls something. And we then use it to reference the call lines. What does the stack trace look like here? I'm clearly just not fully understanding how we do things. My mental model is wrong. That's the only thing I can say. So we have test at line 12 and main at line 2. So this let's do something funny. Why did that not crash? Didn't we just do divide by 0? Why is this program fine with dividing by 0? Been a while since the last stream. Yeah, and I'm super rusty. Okay. Anyways, I think this is like this init stack trace knows. Let's just see who creates this and when. Then we know. Then I understand more, I think. So I guess this is in the lambda. Okay. If it has, let's look here. If it's initializer, we don't. Okay. Otherwise. Okay, so this is the key that I was missing. So leave procedures don't have stack trace nodes. This is why I couldn't find it. Okay, everything makes sense. Never mind. Good luck on the compiler, Reno. Thank you. Yeah, and rusty obviously is a bad thing. So that I'm rusty is not good. If you know what I'm talking about. So we mark procedures as non-leave if they call something, and only then do we push a stack trace node. So the reason why I couldn't find the damn thing is I thought init stack trace node is just create a root node or something, and I skipped it. Just bad assumptions. That's what I meant with there's something wrong with my mental model. So init stack trace node is the thing that's at the beginning of a function. We can see it here and here, but it didn't exist for tests. So I thought what led me astray was we had this, and test did not contain this stack node procedure. I was like, huh, weird. So I guess the stack node, not procedure, this stack node bytecode instruction. So I thought, oh, only main has it. So it must be to push the initial stack node or something, which was stupid of me because obviously main is not the root. Like we have outside something that calls main. So this is not like, again, wrong mental model. So stack node is the thing that pushes the next node. And we can see that hopefully now here, how it does it. And then we have this with push stack trace node. Why is this on bytecode? Yeah, good question. And on return, like these are the only ones that use this. On return, we then undo it. How do we undo it? That's the code that I wanted to see. Wait. Ugh. Oh no, it's fine. Okay, so if we have init stack trace node. All right. I got confused again. Sorry, bear with me. This is the magic that pushes the stack trace node. Maybe let's look in LVM because it's simpler. For some, like, it sounds weird, but it is. We do, oh no, I take that back. No, I take it back. But maybe I can still read it easier. Okay, obviously, we load the context. We get the stack trace pointer. Makes sense. And then we load the old node. Okay, why? I don't know. Here we get the, where is the SA? Yeah, okay, so we have an allocation for the stack trace node. We get the pointer to, so we get the pointer to the node, and then we get a pointer to the next pointer in the new node. Obviously, we store the old node in the next pointer, makes sense. And then we store the new node in the old node pointer is actually not a great name. This is, we should rename this right away. This is stack tray context stack trace pointer. And now this actually makes sense. So we load the old node from the context stack trace pointer, and then we store the new node in the context stack trace pointer. Makes sense, right? Unfortunately, this is not at all the thing I wanted to find. Because what I wanted to find was, how do I do this with a bytecode? And here I just have the machine code because it's implicit, which is a shame. It's not a big deal. I just wanted to copy the thing. But we do more, right? We do this weird hash thing. I bet we do more with this. But actually, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe we just do the simple thing. Okay, maybe all of this was unnecessary, except that I now better know again how it works. But it was unnecessary for what we want to do. Because we want to go to, give me a second. Short break. Okay, I'm gonna get a coffee. I'll be back in 2 minutes or 3 or 5 or something. All right. Nice shirt. Yes, you're right. Nice shirt. Okay. Where were we? So I was hoping I can just copy the bytecode instructions from wherever we pop, but there are no bytecode instructions to pop the stack trace because it's implicit in the init stack trace node pushes it and the return pops it if we pushed one. Damn fine coffee. Yep, indeed. It's not the best though. Like this is a decaf I tried that's okay, but there's a much better decaf that I will order once this one is done. I don't want to throw it away, but it's all right, but it's not the best I've had. But why decaf? Because I like to drink coffee, and if I would drink a full caffeinated coffee every time I want a coffee, I would be like jittery and like not in a good state. Isn't caffeine the point of Nope, it's not. Caffeine is the point of bad coffee. Coffee is the point of good coffee. As push context. Oh, we need to be in bytecode builder. Okay, let's find the other place. So here we need to pop, which means we do the following. We do the reverse of the push, and I already created. Am I crazy? I already created that. Did I not insert the call? So here we will say emit code to pop sentinel stack trace node, which takes it, and it takes its sentinel used value. Okay, now we only need to do this. Okay, so we need to check. Oh, we did that. So we check the sentinel used value. If it exists, we do the opposite of what we did here. We get the new context value. Yeah, it's basically this is the same. We have a general pointer for the sentinel. We have this. I don't know why we have this context offset. Not a fan of that. Why don't we just use context-based stack trace offset? But whatever. I'd rather do this. We load. Oh, we have this. I need this too. Let me check. Where do we store this? Tell me that we store this somewhere. I guess I could just use the context register. I'm not like, I have a hard time thinking about like all the names for instructions of the bytecode, etc. They're all slightly weird to me, and I have to get back into the mindset of how to think about them, which I don't right now. That's why I'm having a hard time a bit right now. Hey Valigo, been a while. Oh yeah, it's been a while. Just finished your third half liter of coffee today. If I had just 1/2 liter of these, I'd die. But the fact that you measure your coffee in half liters tell me that you don't actually drink coffee. You drink like this mild brown thing that's like the thing we had in Sweden, basically. So we could just move it from the okay, let me try to not fail at this as hard as I'm doing right now. Emit code to pop. So we load the old sentinel value. I'm thinking whether we, okay, what I'm torn with right now between, like, we have somewhere on the stack of this procedure, we have this new context record value. But we don't seem to store it anywhere. Nope. We move it to the context register and that's it. So if I want to load this or generate a new value, which I wanted to avoid, so that's why I'm a bit. There must be. Okay, whatever. Let's just get this to work. I'm thinking too much. So we have int context value, and we have a general pointer, and we just I guess the way to do this is why is it A to R? Like, all the naming is slightly weird to me because I don't have the context. Haha, context. I guess we could. Whatever. Let's not be stingy. Let's be stupid for now. So we have the context value. So if I say, give me the context register into context value, and then I say from the context value load the sentinel, and then can I think I can. So we load the old node, and then we just do load into node from node. No, let's make this more debuggable. Whatever. Let's make this most stupidest everst code. Parent node, and then we say we load into parent node the from sent. No, not parent actually. Well, if we push the sentinel stack trace node, we can skip all this. This is all nonsense. Guys, this is all nonsense. If we push the sentinel, we know that the next pointer was null. So we can just do the following. We load the context, and then we just store a null clear memory. we just store, I don't know how we store, I guess it's a big constant. So we would just do how do I null something? We have base offset. Okay, perfect. So we get the context. We don't need the sentinel. We don't need the parent node. We just get the context. And then we say clear memory sized context value, context base stack trace offset, and this is not stack trace node size, but interp pointer size. And that's it. That's literally it. And then we add a new basic block that we can jump to. And that's it. And this took me way too long for something that simple. And maybe we could even skip this. Let's see. It's probably wrong. We'll see. Let's just recompile. Which one are we using? ARM debug. Oopsie. Remember them sentinel used value. What? That's on AST. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Because we need to cast this. So if it's a AST pushed context, we need to push, not it. So we say push. All right. You miss when it streams. Yeah, a couple of people told me that I should continue streaming, including some people at Better Software Conference. So I was like, okay, I should do that. So let's do that. How did you get True Color working for Newman with macOS terminal? No idea what you're talking about. I just did things. I don't know. I don't care. Like I don't care so hard about these things. It's hard to put into words. Okay, let's look at the bytecode we generate. Now I expect. Well, test doesn't help us. Let's just see if what we generate makes some kind of sense. Let's look at init global context, for example. But also this one. Let's stump all the things. Okay, test is simple, main is simple. Some C function that pushes. Maybe we should have given this a nice comment. I know what you meant. I just can't remember how I did it. Like, or if I had to do anything, or like I set this up once many years ago and never looked at it again. I really, like, messing with my config or my terminal or my editor, but like, it's just something I never do. Okay, I want the disassembly of some C function that pushes. So we do blah, blah, blah. And then we do jump to if v4 is 0. What's v4? v4 is the yeah, so we will add some more comments because we want to make this readable. I know what's going on, but okay. Completely unnecessary. I just want to like make it easier to read this. Okay. Mark stack trace sentinel is used. Makes sense. We jump to 1 if v3 is not 0, so we skip over this whole thing. Where do we... Yeah, then we jump. So this is only if v3 is 0, then we mark the stake. Not, did I say make? Mark, not make. Then this is initialization of the sentinel stack trace. We push the stack trace sentinel. So basic block 1 happens, and at the end of basic block 1, we say jump to 2 if v4 is 0. v4 was this one. So we could actually... No, v3 gets reused. We can't check it afterwards. Anyways, we copy v14 to v0, v0 into v14, and then we clear v14 at the offset. And we could just, like, we can skip this. We, bam. Let's just do that. Okay, so if we can simplify this a tiny bit, that would be awesome. But now we're down to jump and a clear. For popping, this is a bit unfortunate, these two constants. We could avoid that by not reusing v3 and storing v3 instead. Like if we use v3 for old node and generate a new v4 for loading the sentinel stack trace node address, then we could just check v3 down here instead of having to introduce this v4. But I guess that's like whatever. But what you can see here is we no longer crash. So this actually fixed our thing. And we can double check if I just don't pop, rebuild, we go boom. If we pop, rebuild, we don't go boom anymore. Hey, yo, we fixed something. Let's check that in. That was painful for something this simple. That was painful. Okay, let's check that in. Oh, and we should. This is no longer true. Okay. Let's comment that this is a bit messy. It's a bit wasteful as we allocate a new value just to store whether we have pushed. No, but I don't have a better idea right now. And let's rename this to Sentinel was pushed. Can't type. And here we call it Sentinel used value. We're gonna rename that. Okay, let's run all the tests actually. And I forgot to. Go. Let's see if I broke anything. Hope I'm doing well. Yes, I'm doing well. It's, yeah, things have been intense for the past couple of months, but it's hopefully getting a bit quieter now again. Well, this month is still gonna be like I still have to deal with a couple of things, but after that, hopefully things are a bit smoother and I can stream more. We'll see. Congrats on a new Mac Mini M4 Pro. It's actually a Mac Studio M4 Max or something. Can't remember. Nothing makes, all these things don't make sense to me anymore. Okay, we have something breaking, which is not good. Oh yeah, no, that's expected. That's my bad. That's a different change that I want to do, but I haven't done right now. So let's do this and do git stash push. Come on. And then let's redo this. Don't burn out. No, it's not actually, it's not work related. It's some personal things. Okay, why not share? So we bought a new house in March, and that's awesome. But it's almost 100 years old, so it needs a full renovation. And a week after we bought that, my mother died, and I had to deal with all of that, and like all the bureaucracy and clearing the flat and whatever. So it's been a lot, not like lots of non-work related things that just took up my time. And I'm still not, like, this was in March, and I'm still not done with clearing out her flat. Like, it's a rented flat, so we want to return that as soon as possible, because it costs like more than €1,000 a month to just have that flat still around. But clearing it is so much work that I couldn't do it any faster. So yeah, that has occupied most of my weekends for a couple of months, and less so for the past month because I took a break. But now I finally canceled the flat lease, and now I have 4 more weeks to clear out the rest of the things and return it to a state that I can return it to the landlord, which is going to be a pain in the rear because my mother did lots of changes to the flat that I have to undo now before I can return it, and that's going to be fun. Yeah. Okay, so something failed in the compiler worker, some array assertion. Yikes. I guess we're at fault. What do you think? This looks like we're at fault. And interestingly, it's just in the compiler server and compiler worker. Everything else went through. So we do something fishy there. I guess we have to jump in and look at what we're doing. It's probably John's fault. Nope, it's always my fault. Always my fault. Pop Sentinel stack trace node. So where are we failing actually? You know what? Let's just. You know what would be awesome? Oh, also it's just the release builds. Ugh. Oh, because I didn't check. Fork. I didn't check whether we pushed one. That's the problem. Duh. Percent. So here we have a option stack trace, and I completely ignore this here. Whoopsie daisy. Yeah, regarding the inheritance thing, if someone had told me beforehand how much work it is to organize a funeral and like take care of all the like clearing a flat, I would not have believed them. Like, not at all. You kind of have to go through that to believe it, I think. It's bonkers. It's actually bonkers. Okay, things work. Hooray. Fix. Oh, let's change log. How do we describe this? Fix that stack trace nodes. Fixed corrupt node if push context on a context that it had been pushed before. But it had to be like, I want to be this as precise as possible. Fix the corrupt stack trace node. Fixed context containing a corrupt stack trace node if you use after returning from push context after function that called push. Fuck, how do you describe this? How do we describe this? Fix that push context left okay, that stack trace node in text.stack trace if that field was null before. This could cause a crash if you later push the same context again and then use the stack trace by using the memory or calling print stack trace. Oof, okay, that was almost as hard as fixing it. No, not really. Fixed invalids. That's not English. Stack allocated. Let's just copy that. That's descriptive enough. But I can't copy because I'm too dumb for it. Okay. Okay. Done. Okay. Good. Let me tell them that it's fixed. Where was this? It was fixed in the next beta. Bam. Okay. Awesome. Next thing on my list is something very minor. Yes, I know. Someone suggested to add link always to the libraries in the bindings generator. So we have, this did not exist. So I recently changed the generate bindings options to use this library struct instead of just strings, so that you can rename the library. And it makes sense to have a link always flag in here. Problem is, if I add this, we get the problem we just saw when we ran the tests. For example, Jai modules, bindings generator. Yeah, if you use a string literal, like if you use a struct literal, which is very handy to just have this shorthand to add something to libraries. I break this if I add a new member. I don't want to break people's code all the time, so this feels a bit, doesn't feel good to me. You know what I mean. How do I... Better to break before pop. Yes, but it's a minor feature. Like, do we really need to do this? That's the question. I guess. Yeah. So this is the fallback code. And then we say context generate libraries if it where does the is system libraries come from? It's a library info. And this library info doesn't have that. Okay, let's add it. I guess it's time for flags, if you ask me. And then, well, it actually doesn't matter. It does not matter. Okay, this is gonna be is system if it flags and system. Okay, if not, it flags and shared library. And then if it flags link always, we add that. And that's it. Almost. Kinda. Okay. Yeah. Don't love it. Maybe we do it like that. Okay. Okay, I'm fine. No. Something's tickling my nose. You kind of had to initialize like file name is blah anyway. Yeah, I didn't do that. Like I always did everywhere the thing you just saw. I did it like this because it's shorter. I just did it. I did this all over the place. If you did the clean thing of saying file name equals, then of course you're golden. Yes. But I didn't, so I'm not. Okay, anyways, now we need to fix things. Is system library is flag. Why are we doing this multiple times? Oh, okay, whatever. Let's say it's fine. I think this doesn't work, right? I think this will not work. If I remember correctly. Do I remember correctly? Oh, we have to fix this first. Bam. Oh, this actually works. Nice. Good. Positively surprised. Let me just check. I got a couple of messages. Oh, I got one from John. I'm gonna read that later. Okay, so with that, let's find everything I broke. How do I find that quickly? I can't really. Oh yeah, I can. I'm gonna build this one. This is gonna complain pretty quickly. I can actually, by just looking for, it's gonna be all kinds of false positives. Let's try that. Libraries, comma, dot. Actually, any amount of white space, a backspace, and this. Okay, this is good. Oh, look guys, I was kind of smart on some places. I did the file name equals. Oh, that's good. Ooh, that's good. Yay. So we shouldn't have too much breakage. Okay. But we have, okay, curl. I did the wrong thing in the curl thing. And I didn't even find that. Where are you? Here you are. Actually, we can find these like that. Nothing? Did I mess it up? If I undo this, can I find it? Yes, awesome. Let's do the same for regular expressions are awesome. Oops, that was a typo. It is called system libraries, right? Bindings general module. System libraries. Okay, so I guess I only did this once. That would be nice. Lies regarding no, like if you know regular expressions and can type them like without thinking too much, they're awesome for finding exactly these kind of things. Like doing this with a general search term would have been a pain in the rear. Hey Raphael, I have a very cursed feature request that you will probably not like. Okay, probably. You know me well enough a while ago. It's an ability to pass custom environment variables when creating a process in the process module. I was a very lucky person for 3 years, but unfortunately now I have to read and set some variables. Oh, so you mean you want to pass environment variables to the newly created process? Is this something you can do cross-platform generally, or is this a Unixy thing? I guess on Unix you would call all the setenvs before. I don't even know. I would have to look at the APIs. I understand why you would probably want to do that. They are usually inherited, right? So by default, if you set your own environment variables and then call the create process thing, it would see those, isn't it? Isn't that what .env does? Oh god. Okay, now we actually need to, okay, we're not gonna check that in. Yeah, we're not gonna check in any of that. We need to actually test this, right? Who has link always? Here we have one. I guess we could. Nah. Okay, STL has that problem. I'm not sure. Okay. Maybe that feature is actually a bad idea. Well, I guess people generate bindings and then don't modify the thing afterwards. Yeah. Meh. The thing is, the libraries and system libraries feature of the bindings generator is actually like it's actually intended for giving it libraries and system libraries where it can find symbols. If you have a link always, by definition, it's not necessary for the bindings. It's necessary for running your module, but wouldn't you wanna? I don't know. It feels a bit messy to include the link always here. Because generally the link always will be dependent on, well, like I added it automatically. Like when someone suggested it was like, oh yeah, great idea, but maybe it is not a great idea. For some reason, the Visual Studio C runtime doesn't implement getInfSetInf on top of Win32. Wait, what? But what happens, like, that sounds bad. Does that mean that getInfSetInf returns different environment variables than if you use Win32 to set them? Like, how does that interrupt? Like, How does that interrupt? I think in cases where I've needed to add link always, I've had a custom footer. Yeah, the thing is, exactly. So if you have a link always, you probably have a custom footer anyways, or you have like here manual library definitions and don't emit them in the bindings generator. Like if you look here, like you have some custom thing anyway. Like of course I could change this to say, go to the STV image. Let's try to use it and decide then. So here I would say, if OS target is not Windows, array add file name. This is system libraries. Right? And isn't that kind of like, You know what I mean? Okay, that now lets me like I have this cursed footer anyways. Okay, but now I could remove this and generate it in here. Okay, but is that really better? I'm not sure if it warrants the extra complexity. It's not much complexity, but it is some complexity. It is a breaking change to some people who use the bindings generator. And for what? Let's see how much, like in how many places we can use it, and then think about it. So AppKit is not auto-generated, I think. Yeah. This looks like it's artisan handcrafted code. Yep. The bindings generator test. Nope. Program print. Nope. Native app bindings. This is auto-generated, and we have this here, so I guess there is somewhere here generate that does it. Yeah. Okay, so here we could get rid of the glue footer, right? We could get rid of the glue footer, but we kind of have to replicate this here now by saying nope. Nope, we can't get rid of the glue footer because we have one binding for both, and we need different libraries, as you can see. So we would have to generate different bindings. Sucks. So it doesn't help us here at all. Unless we can't. Can we? Nope. Okay, so we can't use it here. That's a strong indicator that we're not gonna ship this. Okay, STB Vorbis can have the same link always thing we just added to STB image. Again, I don't think this is actually better. Like, how is this? I'm not sold on this idea that this is better. Like, I remove one line and I add 3 lines, you could say 2 lines that are more complicated. Like, in my opinion, this doesn't make any sense. Let's look at imgui. Yeah, normally you want to document why you need to link against this. I mean, I guess you could say it's fine. It's going to be in the generated file. So what would this look like? On Windows, we say array add libraries. Not libraries, system library. Oh yeah, system. Oh, and also it's system library here. So this is outdated. Okay, whatever. Funny that I didn't even find that. File name equals user 32. Link always is true. And then we want to keep the comment. Yeah, okay. Okay, WYs has some things going on. where we have a separate builder for the, wow, ugh. That doesn't seem like it would be helped. Because depends on the build configuration. Nope, that doesn't, like, we can't use it here. Yeah, so my guess is this is actually a pretty useless feature. Let's see, metal. Yeah, and this is not even hand generated. Okay, yeah, so okay, I'm gonna revert all of this. It's not worth it, in my opinion. It's not worth the complexity, it's not worth the break, the potential break for some people. But I'm gonna do something else for imgui. Oh, I didn't save all of them. So we're gonna change something. This is library system. Yay. Do we have more of these? Yeah, plenty. Oops. Wow, we have lots of them. I guess we do this instead. I hate this. It's super awkward to type on me, for me. We have this everywhere. Wow. Yeah, that needs to be. So, stupid minor manual cleanup task, but whatever. I should do a replace all, which I can't do easily in Vim. Like replace in folder. It probably is something I can do in Vim, but I don't know how. So, how many of these do we have? Oh, way too many. Wait, nope. Nope. This is stupid. QQ. That didn't work. QQ. Okay, that works. Why does it not work now? I hate how fragile Vim macros are. we got it working. Okay. Haha, not in the changelog though. We basically had this everywhere. Wait, where was the print? Do I need to review? Okay, let's review it all, even though that's super slow and cumbersome. It seems weird that we didn't replace this globally when we introduced the different syntax. It's strange. Whatever. Okay, this all looks good. I just wanted to make sure that I don't have another stupid replacement as in the changelog or something. Okay, here we want to keep the old one, I guess, as long as we still... Yeah, all of these we want to keep. This is fine. All of these should stay. Okay, let's see if everything still works. Let's use the x64 version this time. Any questions? Any other comments while we wait for the tests to complete? I should have timed how long the tests take on my old machine versus the new machine, if it's significantly faster. I can still do that. Only unrelated questions. I guess that's fine. Okay, that worked. Just as a test, this took 39.2 seconds. I want to know what's faster here. If I use the ARM version, but then have to use LVM, obviously, is that slower or faster? My gRPC binding has 116 libraries, link always at probably more than all other users of link always in standard modules. Yep, that sounds awful. For binding generator, is there some way that I missed to get the Windows GUIDs working correctly? Or some way to omit the bad decals at least. We generate the GUIDs. Okay, so this took 28 seconds. So running the LVM tests took 28 seconds. So using the ARM version of the compiler and using LVM as a backend, it takes 28 seconds to run the tests. Using the x64 version of the compiler and therefore being able to use the x64 version of the backend was 39 seconds. So it's, even though LVM is crazy slow, it's still faster for me to use the ARM version of the compiler because the overhead of doing x64 on ARM seems to eat up all the benefits of not using LVM. So It would be awesome if you had our own backend so that I didn't have to use LVM on ARM, because then this would be way smaller than I could run the tests in, I don't know, 20 seconds probably. Is that a BSC moose in the background? Yes, it is. It's a Moose-lutions moose. Shout out to Ted for sending these. So let's give this one. So this is the total product placement stream. I sold out. I'm representing File Pilot and Moose-lutions. Can you read that on stream? And we've used Red Debugger, so, and I earned tons of money for doing that, of course. Need to get some art coffee mug. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'll if they come in this size, I will use them. Otherwise, they will have to wait for me to drink tea. He's max and level with Seagear. Yeah. Did you manage to figure out the XAR for expansion? Yeah, sure. I fixed that. You played Teardown directly from Dennis last night. Yeah, I played Teardown as well, but I haven't played it for a couple of days. Yeah, it actually, like, the Moose-lutions moose displaced the Don't Starve Buffalo. It used to sit on my speaker, and now it got displaced. Use RemedyBG. Yeah, I bought RemedyBG a long time ago, but every time I used it, almost every time I had to, like, I started my debug sessions in Remedy and then I had to abort at some point because I was missing some feature or hit a bug or something, and I haven't had that problem with Red Debugger. Like, there's plenty of things in Red Debugger that I'd like to do and that are, I don't know, that I want to see improved or something, but I was always able to finish my debug sessions in Red Debug when I tried it in Red Debugger. That being said, maybe I tried harder stuff in Remedy back then. The couple of times that I have used Red Debugger so far, one thing that's still missing for me from Red Debugger is the arbitrary code execution, like that I can call functions at debug time that are in my binary. That's something that Remedy can't do either, and it might have been that I switched away from Remedy every time I wanted to call an expression. When I debug syntax tree things, I need to be able to call functions to visualize the syntax tree. So maybe I just switched away from Remedy every time I needed that, and I haven't had to use that functionality in a while. So okay. Okay, whatever. That was a distraction. So we didn't actually do the bindings generator change. Let me look at my to-do thing. So the iOS context corruption thing we just fixed. It has nothing to do with iOS. It has nothing to do with context corruption. It was just the stack trace nodes. I think. Let me look again at what he says. Okay, yeah, that seems to be it. Let me know if you can still repro any iOS context if you add just to make sure to the stack send trace node issue. Okay. I have on my list Someone sent me changes to GI modules to better support iOS. We could try to look at those. Change how D3D declares the debug module parameters. Yeah, that's also on my list. Again, sorry, someone mentioned the GUIDs and then I switched. Like, yeah, Stefano said the Windows GUIDs. How do you get them to work correctly? I recently did a fix. Like, did you try it? Like, if you're still here, Stefano. So, okay, Stefano says, wait, who allowed you to do that? You mean arbitrary code execution? Yeah, Visual Studio does that. LLDB does that. So you can just execute arbitrary expressions while you're debugging. And that's pretty powerful. I use that to visualize syntax tree nodes while I'm debugging the compiler. Would ARM64 support share most of the code across OSs, or would it be equally large effort for each OS? I don't know. I guess it's... I don't know what the ARM calling conventions are like. If they're different, like... Usually the big effort between operating systems is the different calling conventions and then some minor things about the object file format, etc. But the main instruction stream is usually the same, but what's different is the calling convention. So if the ARM calling convention is more consistent across operating systems, then it would be less effort to do the ARM backend for all operating systems. But I don't know if that's the case. I haven't looked at the ARM calling conventions at all. Or I did and I forgot again. Could be. I tried the latest last week for dsound bindings. Not a big deal. The copy to GUIDs. Yeah. So we do. I remember the GUID stuff. We have a hack in the bindings generator for GUIDs. Yeah, the COM UUIDs. And I recently fixed something there to make it more applicable. So we had... Yeah, I recently added this. So there's a hack in here that for certain macro expansions tries to extract the UUIDs and saves them and adds them as a something meta field. And you can probably extend that to cover your cases. Maybe, I don't know. But it's a hack because we don't actually, we have to extract them from the macro token. So we manually have to convert tokens to strings because it's something that we don't get, libclang doesn't tell us anything about it because it's in some, it's in a macro that I don't know what it does. But we have to have this hack for it. And if you look, create declaration UUID, and we add that to metadata. Yeah, metadata. And then we have that. What do we do with that? We generate some... I just want to show you the result in case you haven't seen it. Is it in D3D? I think it's somewhere there, right? Yeah, so this is what it looks like. This is what this is what we generate if we can find the UUID. Is this what you're talking about, Steph Devs? So this can be auto-generated if the UUIDs are declared in a certain way that you recognize. If you have a different, if you have an example for me where we can totally extend this hack to cover more cases, but it is a hack for every macro that declares COM UUIDs. You could never get Visual Studio Debugger to pass arguments to function. No, I totally call it with arguments. What's keeping the calling convention different from ext4 on the backend? What's keeping the calling convention different from ext4 on the backend? What do you mean? Yeah, you can't tell LVM anything about calling conventions. You kind of have to use what's built in. So we can't use our calling convention using the LVM backend. So when we use the LVM backend, all jive functions conform to the C calling convention of that operating system instead of using the JI calling convention that we use internally. Only the x64 backend uses the JI calling convention for that reason. Compile time code execution uses the JI calling convention. But since we can't tell LVM how to do the JI calling convention, whenever you use the LVM backend, all function calls will use the C calling convention because you can't introduce new calling conventions into without modifying LVM itself, as far as I know. There might be a way that I'm not aware of, but since my analysis of all the ABI issues has shown that the calling convention code and handling of calling conventions for LVM is split between the front end and the back end, which means if you use Clang, for example, the immediate representation that Clang generates to take care of the calling convention has some of the calling convention stuff handled, and some is then handled in the back end. The calling convention code is split. The handling of the calling convention is split between Clang and the LVM backend, and we had to reproduce that to do the calling convention stuff correctly. It's crazy stupid, but that's the way it is. So since it is split between the front end and the back end, I wouldn't know how to. Yeah, whatever. It's hard to explain. So I'm kind of stuck using ccall and LVM. If you call between, I'm not sure what it has to do with ccall stainless code. There must be some misunderstanding. Why not match LVM's convention on x64 backend? I'm not sure what you mean. dsound.h uses define GUID. Can you post me a link or a code snippet of what that looks like? Then we can compare. Or if you can tell me where I can find guiddev.h and dsound.h on my system, then I can look it up directly. Why doesn't the compiler use the same calling convention as LVM in the x64 backend? Because we want to use a simpler calling convention in JI. That's why. Period. Of course, we could say no, all functions follow the C calling convention. And I guess that would make the backends easier because we don't have two calling conventions. But you talk to John about that. Why he added his own calling convention. You could say, since we need to support the C calling convention in both backends anyways, we could do the C calling convention always for all functions, and that would simplify things. I guess, well, I'll have to discuss that with John. I'll put it on my list, actually. The calling convention on Windows is different from one at AMD. Yeah, I know. Like, there is no x64 calling convention. It's operating system dependent. You have the System 5 calling convention, and then you have the Windows calling convention for x64. So Windows Kids, blah, shared GUI def. And where do I find the dsound? So let's boot up the loud machine again, I guess. Okay. Let's go there. Let's see, like I'm gonna stop pretty soon because I'm starting to get hungry, but we can still get something done. Include highest number, shared. So yeah. Then we have guidef.h. And then the macro was define GUID. Yeah, so it does this, which is lovely, of course. Okay, and let's look at dsound. I probably don't have that. msys64? Is that a thing? Nope. Let's see. Haha, let's do. You know what? I wish I had File Pilot, because I would love to be able to get the results for this in a reasonable amount of time. Easy to install? Yeah, but I haven't bought it yet. But it looks to me like this define, you know what? It's probably faster to download File Pilot. I actually don't know. We'll find it. But I wanted to, like, I didn't want to just download it. I wanted to buy it before I use it, but I'm not gonna buy it on stream. Yay. Yeah, let's just run it from here. Yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. Isn't this awesome? I want to find things. How do I do the global find thingy? If I'm just here and I say, like, I know there is a find mode. Yes, I want this. And then I want the, what was the name? dsound.h. So Windows had how many minutes to of a head start? File Pilot is already done, and we had to download and install and launch it, and figure out how to search. And it was still like, it showed me all results way faster than Windows. Shout out to FilePilot. Okay, so we have it in UM. Good, thank you. Can I copy path or something? How do I copy the path? Ah, fuck it. Let's just do this. So we have define GUID. Yeah. Okay, the problem with these is my hack will not handle them. This would require a separate hack in the binding generator. If you want to send me, like, Stefan, you can look at how I do. Oh, fuck this. Let's open it here. You can look at the savecom UUID token hack and modify this. Like this one is designed for something like declspec UUID. Let me show you. Was it declspec? This is a, like, as you can see, they have it on a struct. Let's open. Oh, it's actually much easier because it's just a string instead of the values. But if we open any of these, so this is the case I'm handling right now. Thank you, FilePilot. You're awesome. Let's begin with them. netprof.h. Normally it looks like this. So they declare the UUID as a macro on the class. And I just take this and remember it. And then when I find a struct that's declared on the same line as the macro was, then I turn this into net provisioning UUID. Like this gets turned into, where was it? Somewhere here. Nope. Oh, I guess it's bindings. Yeah, this gets turned into UUID constant in front of the struct. So you wouldn't have to do this. You could just, like, from the thing we looked at, we won't see the define GUID thingy, but you should be able to see this one. Like, you should be able to see the CLSID direct sound declaration. That should exist if you just compile this thing. It's gonna be the problem is it's gonna be a struct literal that we, like, if init GUID, the problem is if init GUID is defined, which I don't think if it is, I don't know if it is, you should see this declaration. The problem is we cannot replicate this in Jai. So probably the thing that creates the initializer, like the initializer the thing that converts literals will just, in the binding generator, will fail at this expression. So the thing you should probably do is instead look at how I handle these. So this is in macro expansions. If you find the macro expansion, you just hard code the name in here. Like, say if the macro expansion is for define GUID, then extract the tokens and build the UUID yourself and create a declaration and add it in manually, if you know what I mean. So you would have here else if name is decal spec. No, not decal spec. What was your name? Damn, I need a break. Define GUID. Then you do something like decal is convert define GUID to decal. Add that cursor and basically, and then you say array add context generator global declarations, I think, or globals decal, something like this. And then this convert define GUID to decal will have to do the thing similar to what this one does. You basically walk the tokens, you know how many tokens you expect. The first token is going to be the name of the thing you want to declare, and then the other tokens are the numbers. There are things in the binding generator that get you literals for tokens, because that's used for all the whatever hex literals that you'll find. So you can use that to convert all of the arguments token by token into numbers, and then you can assemble the GUID string and then define it just like we do for this one. Make sense, kind of? And if you send me that, I'll happily include it. You owe him full license. Yeah, I'm gonna I owe Vyacheslav a purchase of the file palette just for this speed up. Look, it's done. Wow. Thank you, Windows. So just for this, I owe him a purchase. So I'm gonna buy it off. I'm gonna buy it off stream, obviously. But yeah, great tool. Thank you. Let's pin this. Let's pin it right there, next to the Explorer. I wonder if Microsoft employees working on Windows ever search something on the computers. Yeah, they probably have third-party tools for that. Isn't Wasabi simpler and more suited for manual mixing? What? That's very off topic. Okay. Yeah, so you don't even need the hack with the meta information exactly. You just need to extract the name and then generate the declaration directly. You don't need to do this terrible thing that I have to do here, where I extract the UID, save it somewhere, and then look for a match. Like if you look here, we have when we have something unexposed, we check if it's on the same, it's so ugly. Then we create a macro definition, and then at some other point, you see what's happening. You have to trace this, and it's terrible. So your hack would be way nicer. Okay, what else is there to do for me? I think it's time. I haven't streamed in a while. It's taxing when you're not used to it. I'm gonna take a break now. I think we didn't do much. We fixed two things. Actually, we fixed one thing. And reverted the other thing we tried, but still minor success, and it's nice to be back at streaming. I hope you enjoyed it, and well, we could raid someone. I haven't tried that in ages. Are there people raid worthy anymore? None of my followers are alive. Let's see, is there someone? So they returned they brought back the language selection. That's good. because they had language, and then at some point language was just a tag, and now they made a dedicated language thing again. Okay, Jackie is still at it. I remember her. Christoph is still at it. '80s style dungeon crawler in C++. That sounds like fun. Let's give him a rate, shall we? I don't know him. Z.A. Shaw. Okay. Okay. Have fun with Mr. Z.A. Shaw. And we'll see each other sometime soon. Bye, guys.